what the hell do I want to do with my life? You have to start swallowing all the bitter truths. If you struggle to commit to your partner and you do this, you'll never struggle to commit anymore.
Today on the show, we speak to Corey Boutwell, who is a WBFF Fitness competitor and a self-development coach for entrepreneurs. Corey shares how you can find your purpose in life through activating your own hero's journey and how you must start swallowing your bitter truths if you want to control your dark side and unlock your inner truth. We also jump into relationships, where he explains a great little exercise that you can implement when it comes to attracting and choosing the right partner. Plus, some bonus tips on how you can have better intimacy with your lover. Stay tuned for that. This episode is jam-packed with value, so without further ado, let's roll the intro. Welcome to The Better Project, the podcast helping you build mental fitness. My name is Nick Batar, and my mission is to crush the stigma surrounding mental health. Each week, we bring you an inspiring person or message which will help you unlock your inner truth to live a life of harmony within mind, body, and spirit. Thank you for spending some time with me today. Let's dive in. Corey Boutwell, welcome to the podcast, brother. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, mate.
Dude, I love to start my podcast with some gratitude. What are 3 things that you're grateful for today?
My Overcome the Chaos course, for sure. And that's not a plug. It's just been a super overwhelming journey of experience as a business owner, watching your business thrive with all the energy and effort, love that you put into there is amazing, because I get so much sense of community and connection and purpose within that group. And it's letting me live my most desired dream life like I'd ever think of in my wildest imaginations happening. So that would be the one, the actual program itself. The second one would definitely be for my partner and myself in our relationship, so us together, because I've spent so much time learning about relationships and communication and all those different things, and being in a position where I can actually put it into practice. One is harder because you have to deal with your own emotions. It's not like I'm coaching someone else. I'm like, oh, look at it from this point of view, go from here. It's like, no, you're in it and you got to use all the different things. So I'm using all of the techniques and they are working so well that it's overwhelming. And it started from before the relationship, with down to who I actually picked, who I chose to be my partner, why I chose them, and what I was in hope like for in a relationship. It's all happening. Crazy. And the third one, man, is having the opportunity to chat to you on the podcast today, which is awesome.
Appreciate it, bro. And off air, we're talking about you competing in the WBFF, and we know you're in prep right now. Fatigue's kicked in. It's late in the afternoon, bro. So appreciate you taking the time. But on that, I wanted to ask, what areas transfer over from competing into the business life?
Oh my goodness, that is like, oh, I love that question. I don't even know where to start, to be completely honest. So what I was literally talking to one of my clients today, and I'd love to share this with everyone listening right now. I just believe that the example of a modern leader, who the world needs, because I believe hurt men, inspiring men, inspire men. And for no fault of our own, not against society or anything, but I just think the way that it's been set up and our parents' generation, and just the way that like businesses have been set up and culture has been sort of put through no fault of our own, there's just shifts that sort of need to be made to be accustomed to the modern person, just in terms of opportunities, in terms of happiness, fulfillment, purpose, love, and all those different things. And I believe every single CEO or business leader, wherever it is, should have on their resume a high-performing personal life. Home should be the most important, because if you've got terrible stuff at home, how are you going to bring that to a business and show up as best as possible? Then in a business, how are you supposed to bring that home? Now, one thing that I really respect, and everyone who knows this, who competes or knows someone who's competed in bodybuilding or a fitness show, is how intense it is. And that's why there's so much respect around it. Yes, everyone can pull off the whole thing to, oh, they're on drugs or on steroids or whatever, and that's why they look, the way they do. But regardless of what anyone else thinks, people who get on stage have put their heart, soul, energy, and effort into competing. Majority of the time, people have breakups. There's so many breakups that happen when people compete. People can have huge health problems if they pick the wrong coach or they don't know how to do it properly. It's risky business, and it consumes your whole life. So I believe, just speaking from a man's point of view, if you're at that level where you can have a lean, muscular physique, you have a well-balanced home life, and you have purpose in your professional life, that is the peak of, modern leadership. And if you can do all of those things, because, having a muscular physique is a sign, if done right as well, of health. And it should be a sign of health. That's why I compete, to show off the health that I have created for myself and what I have. And there's all these studies that show, muscles lead to longevity. I think there was I was literally just learning from someone. It was just a real lady on a podcast on Instagram. And she just mentioned that, like, something along the lines of 60% of, or 70% of women, something like that, right? Of women who are over the age of 60 or 65 who fall down, don't get back up. And the one leading cause for that was they didn't have enough muscles. So I looked into it, and it's legit, which blew my mind. It was in America. It was an American study. But still, I think that if someone has a balance of all those things, that is just the epitome of what you can have as a modern leader, for sure. Because no matter all areas, if you have emotional control, you have a healthy muscular physique, and you have purpose, and you're chasing a career, and you're achieving your own success for whatever that may be, and you're attached to that, and you're starting to get wheels in the motion, there are three things that everyone respects. And if you can create that for yourself, then you respect yourself, you trust yourself, then you find fulfillment within inside yourself, which is a beautiful thing.
I refer to someone that's like that as a business athlete. And
I love that.
That's something that I'm striving to be.
Yeah.
Really look after myself off the field, and then on the field in the business world, really trying to incorporate all the discipline, teamwork, all the stuff that we learn, all correlates together, man. And yeah, I see that as a business athlete.
Yeah, dude, I love that so much. Yeah, business athlete is a great way to articulate that, for sure.
Dude, you talk a lot about the hero's journey. Now, I want you to articulate it because you articulate it so well, dude. And then I want to go back and, where did your hero's journey begin?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm wondering how to answer this question. I'll give a brief, quick overview for people who are listening in terms of how to explain it as quickly as possible. If anyone listens to Jordan Peterson, obviously you've probably heard him talk about it before. But one of the things that I find most important is you'll hear people talk about it, you hear people learn about the hero's journey, but it's another thing to go in and learn it, but then also apply it to yourself. Now, I believe before anything else with the hero's journey, if you ask someone, what is it? I like to call it the art of prediction. For all men, for all women out there, in terms of their life, in terms of their, masculine, career-driven life, whatever they want to do, if they know what their own hero's journey entails, you always know what to do next with your life, whatever that may be. I need to ask for a job promotion now. I need to change jobs right now. I need to talk to this person. I'm going to have to learn certain skills. Whatever the thing is to get to the next step of the hero's journey can be done through that. Another thing that I think is really important is we have age between people, right? So example, someone, if they're 45 years old, they're 15 years older than me. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're more mature than I am, or I'm more mature than they are. What I believe is the predictor for who is more mature is someone who's actually gone through the hero's journey further. And there are so many people that get stuck in a position where they, on the first half of life, they go, oh, do I dive into this thing that I love, or I just stick to this job or this career, or, just work in this little family here that I'm, not actually that satisfied with. They never take the call to adventure and dive into the unknown. And that makes them stuck in a certain position and period. And then they're unwilling to learn, they're unwilling to adapt, they're unwilling to change, they're unwilling to move forward. And then they just get depressed and anxious and just watch movies and eat bad food and don't take any big risks or big moves of their life and just play it safe. And I believe that is like the most unsafe thing to ever do. So that's just a quick little what I think about the hero's journey. The second part is, what is it? So the hero's journey is just a story that has been told through all myths, religions, and stories since the history of time. Since literally the history of time, it's just been told over and over again. And what has happened is a whole lot of philosophers and researchers and historians and people who study mythology have come to the conclusion that there's a map that every single story tells. And if it follows the right story, it can bring fulfillment and true happiness and purpose to someone, and can make them, sort of essentially before you die, you go, I've done it. Like, I did it. I've lived my hero's journey, and I'm so proud of that. And if you don't do those things, then you have to deal with the repercussions of regret or dissatisfaction or something like that, which is actually really scary to think about. Essentially what it is, to explain the hero's journey, is you start what they call in the known world. For example, if you've seen Lord of the Rings, it's the Hobbit, it's the Shire for the hobbits. Or in Harry Potter, it's his world at home living under the staircase. The unknown world for the hobbits is the land of, I can't remember, medieval, the whatever the land is outside the Shire. And then the for Harry Potter, it's Hogwarts and the magical land of wizardry. Now, what happens in terms of the hero's journey is there's I think there's 12 to something steps. And essentially there's 3 chapters. The first chapter of the hero's journey is a call to adventure. So essentially it's like your whole, leaving the Shire, going out on a journey, going through tests and trials, meeting mentors and meeting people who are going to teach you and guides and help. That's going to help you overcome certain things. Then in the middle, right before you go from chapter 1 to chapter 2 of the hero's journey, that is called the trials, the trials and just the trials of initiation, something along the lines of that. And essentially with the trials of initiation is all the tests dealing with the temptress, getting stuck in the actual world and the unknown, which you've gone into, and learning about yourself and having an ego death, which is essentially slaying the dragon, which is what you see Bilbo Baggins do in the movies, or Harry Potter when he has a fight with Voldemort. And then number 3, chapter 3 is return and reintegration with society, which is where a lot of people struggle with. A lot of people get to, moving into the phase of going through the tests and the trials or a call to adventure, and then they don't really move past getting back towards return and reintegration with society, which is all about learning the gift, learning your skills, and then bringing back and applying that into your own life. And usually the gift that you get, or the prize that you get, or they call it in the hero myth terminology, is the boon, is usually some sort of knowledge or belief in yourself that you can bring back and give to everyone else and share to them. And that is what you get from slaying the dragon. But the dragon in the hero myths and all the stories that we like is usually your own sense of ego, where you have to rise up and overcome yourself for some sort of period or reason. So essentially what it is you have this known world of yours right now, and you can apply it to yourself in terms of, okay, I want to achieve this thing, or this is this one big thing that I must do with my life before I get onto the next stage, or I must do before I die. But it's scary. And a lot of time it's like your potential's over here, and then you're hesitating to jump on. And that's why people jump on, one of my programs, or if people get any other coach, it's like they're going to dive into, here's the unknown. Let's help them through. When they go through the unknown, there's all these things that you have to learn and test and trials to go through, and then reintegrating it into yourself. And then once you've gone through that, you notice that, well, this person's actually quite different now. They've learned some things that I don't know about. They've changed their personality. They're in a completely different position. Yes, they're the same person, but a lot about them has actually changed. Now they're showing up a little bit differently, and they're either happier or more fulfilled or a little bit more weathered through going through the journey. But majority of the time, that is what they've wanted to do, and they're actually going through the lessons and things that they need to learn for them. And one of the things that's really important to notice is always with the hero's journey, you always figure out that you are what you are always seeking. When you get to that point, which for everyone is, you don't know what it is, but when you get there, it makes it a lot easier to sort of come back and be that person of yourself that you want to be when coming back. Sort of like when Harry Potter defeated Voldemort and stuff, and then actually, moved forward as a wizard, or when he finally accepted himself that, yep, Voldemort's a part of me. I've got to go out there and remove that. Or in Bilbo Baggins' case, for example, when he slayed all the dragons, did all the things, and with all the dwarfs, and actually come back to the Shire and the hometown and shared all of his wealth with everybody and told stories and knowledge and all those different things. That's sort of a brief explanation of the hero's journey. It's a lot deeper than that. I was trying to make it as simple as possible. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense.
No, it does. No, I appreciate you sharing that. And the reason I ask that is because I'm trying to learn about it myself, but there is so much that goes into it. It's so in depth. And I started reading King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, and I was like, holy shit, there's so much here. And the reason I wanted to talk to you about it as well was I wanted to correlate into mental health, and especially around men, because I think it was in the first couple of chapters of that book, it said why mental health is so high is because we've lost the tradition of going from boy to man. Especially in Western society, there's no traditions anymore. I want to ask you, how do you think, as a man living in this Western world, how do we go through that transition from boy to man and not getting lost?
I really like that. So what's really interesting is that the King, Warrior, Magician, Lover is actually called, in Pathways to Bliss, Joseph Campbell, who wrote The Hero's Journey, brought it to the Western world. They call it transformations of the hero myth or transformation of the hero. And they're sort of ways of thinking about, because in all the stories, right, there's a king, there's a warrior, there's a magician, there's a lover. Gandalf or Dumbledore's the main magician. The king's always some sort of leader, like Aragorn in Lord of the Rings. The warrior is usually the main character, or Legolas or someone. And then the lover is always, is usually the main character as well, like Frodo or Sam or something like that, which I think is really important to understand. And in terms of activating your own hero's journey and living through it, understanding how those play out within your own life and what you're most naturally suited to and your needs as a king and a warrior, and a magician as a lover, however you show up. Lover is a home life. It's the juice to your car. The king is the driver. So he's the one who's making all the decisions of the car. The warrior is the gas pedal and the gear stick. Like some people are just fanging it. They think they're going 100 miles an hour. They're in gear one and they're about to blow the goddamn pistons out the engine. And then the magician is the GPS. You got to punch that in and figure out where to bloody go. And if people don't understand that or apply that, then it's a lot harder for them to actually mature through the hero's journey. And sorry, what was your question again specifically? I wanted to touch on.
In the Western world, as men, like, we don't have those traditions, those rituals now to go from boy to man. How do we kind of go through that now?
Oh, it's so good. You have to take responsibility for yourself. And if you understand, which is what's so important, in the hero's journey, there's a step that goes for, each maturing. I'll just quickly get up now because it's too hard to damn remember. But for example, you get a call to adventure, you refuse the call, you get supernatural aid. There's a crossing over the first threshold, the belly of the whale, the road of trials, meeting with the goddess, dealing with the woman as the temptress, and the atonement with the father. Now, when I say those things, all these different things, they go, oh, I need to do these, pop up into my head, but no one would know that unless they understood that. Now, the thing is that each time you want to go to another step in the hero's journey, and that was only half, is it requires an initiation period, which is done through a lot of all cultures and religions. It's pretty crazy. If you read A Man and His Symbols or The Origins of History and Consciousness, Jordan Peterson's recommendation, they talk about the Aboriginal cultures in Australia. And what they would do is they would separate the boys from their mums because they were fearful of boys getting too attached to their mums because they didn't have a lot of resources. People needed to contribute to the tribe so intensely because death is upon them. Like they're fighting death every single day just to eat and do other things. If they had a boy that was too attached to his mum, for example, he wouldn't be able to contribute to the tribe and he would actually take from the tribe instead. And what would happen is if they were too attached to like their mum, they'd end up just killing him, which is like really sad and hectic to think about. So what they would do at the age of like 14 is rip him away from the mum at nighttime. They'd take him out, do some real scary stuff, and the men would frighten the absolute shit out of them. And they'd, crazy as it sounds, they'd cut their foreskin off. And then send them out for walkabout and don't come back for a year or something. That's where walkabout would actually happen. And then when the Aboriginals would come back and the boys were men, they weren't allowed to talk to their mum for 1 or 2 years until they integrated with all the men. They could do all the things and they learnt the culture, and then they could talk to their mum again, which is just crazy fascination to have. Now, that's how intense the initiation periods are back then. It's important to know because we're obviously not going to do that now. But for now, for example, it's like, where are the initiation periods? Especially in Australia. It's real hard, right? Because we're so privileged here. In Australia, we're the most privileged culture ever. We don't pay for uni. We don't do any stuff like that. But because we're so privileged and we have every single opportunity to do, the hardest thing for us to figure out is, what the hell do I want to do with my life? And what's my purpose? In America, it's a little bit different because that separation happens. For example, if someone wants to go to college, it's you go live there, goodbye, get away. And then you're in the whole, what are they called? The frat things, all the frat stuff. That is an initiation ceremony on its own. You're away from your parents. You're learning how to do things on your own, figuring out certain things, making connections, and you sort of have to fall and find your purpose and start moving forward. We didn't have to do that here. Like the majority of age that people move out, it's like 27 or something. I didn't move out of home until I was 25 or 26, something like that. And I remember saying to myself when I was a young kid, I'm going to be out at 18. I had no idea how the hell to do that.
I'm still living at home, bro.
Yeah, dude, how hard? It's like really hard to do. You know what I mean? And we haven't had anything that's like get us out here. Like, we're so privileged and we have all the opportunity. And I think it's a good thing that we can actually stay at home and do things, as we can take advantage of what we want to do when we're in those positions. However, if we don't know what it is and we don't have the right initiations for ourselves, what the hell are we supposed to do? So where I come in and say this is, you have to figure out your own initiations. For example, just small things what you can do is You can like write a big letter or something and burn it. That's an initiation thing. A big holiday to Europe, not for the intention of getting absolutely pissed and shit-faced, but to go over there and sort of think about, you know, if you're a white person, just where your history comes from, what you actually want to do with your life, meet some people, figure out what they're doing. It could be having some sort of ceremony in terms of, it could be a psychedelic ceremony, could be a breathwork ceremony, whatever it is. It could be that's why there's like, I think universities and things, like people get so addicted to studying because they keep going through the process of getting approval and getting the next certificate and getting the next thing. Then they get a job in a corporate job and it's like, okay, now you got to this level. And then we go, well, there's another level here. Let's get you here. Yeah, let's have a celebratory tea. And it's like, well, if you're not doing that for yourself, then you're obviously going to rely for it somewhere else. But then you're still going to be thinking to yourself, why am I not fulfilled yet? Why haven't I figured out what I really need to do? And how come I haven't got the things that I'm so desperate to have right now, even though I'm trying my goddamn hardest? What? And it's learning how to give initiations and rituals to yourself. Just for example, some of the things that I do is I catch up with some really close friends of mine. We try to do it biannually, and we sit like a mushroom psychedelic ceremony. And we do that very intentionally. And we go through and ask real big questions and try to figure things out. For example, I try to compete. Competing is a ceremony for me. Going through a 3-month period, it's more like a 5-month period of being so strict and working on my body, working on my brain, working on my food, nutrition. It's having a massive cleanse. Getting on stage and doing something really big, filled with crazy emotions and showing my body and my health off is another initiation period for me. That's like, I did something fantastic. Let's step into the next thing. My own business, in terms of like scaling it and moving forward and having areas where we have something big happen or someone has a big transformation or something, it's like, cool, let's do something where we can celebrate this and all hang out together and do something. Like that is another initiation ceremony. So a lot of people probably are doing some sort of initiation ceremonies on their own without knowing it and understanding that's like, well, this is actually really important to me. But when you're aware of it and you're aware that you're actually doing it for the intention of, I'm doing this initiation ceremony to step to the next stage of my life, then I'm here. That's what marriages are for. That's what buying houses are for. I mean, society gives you that. That's like, well, what are your initiation ceremonies for your own hero's journey? Which the most important thing to do for that is to find where you find your most fulfillment, what your full potential looks like, and what your purpose is.
Yeah, self-awareness plays a massive part. And I talk about a lot of the times, like you mentioned, that scenario of going through school and always going for the next university degree. That is external factors. So many people in society, we're so focused on the external instead of the internal and what we want to feel on a day-to-day basis. And I'm like, focus on that. Focus on the internal fulfillment, and anything external is just a cherry on top. Because if we don't have that internal, we can have all the external you want. You can get the house, you can get the car, but you're going to want a better car. You're going to want an extra bedroom in your house. It's just a never-ending cycle.
100%. You're so correct there. I agree so much.
I wanted to ask, you mentioned ego deaths before. How do we control our dark side? Because I seen you post about it recently. I was like, I need to ask this guy this question.
Ego deaths are so wild to watch, man. So a lot of the people that we work with in Overcome the Chaos and one-on-one with myself, watch them, go through them. And it's so crazy. It's essentially what an ego death is just, it's being aware of your own ego. This is my own interpretation. There's probably some other interpretation, but this is just what I've learned from practicing it with people myself. So if there's other definitions or anything out there and I'm not correct to those, for me, that doesn't matter. I'm just talking about what I know with my stuff. And essentially what I believe that it is when people have certain beliefs about themselves or who they are, and they're doing something unconsciously for a certain period of time. And then they start to become conscious of everything that they're doing. And they're swallowing all types of bitter truths. Carl Jung calls this the individuation process, which is, I like the word individuation because it's you becoming an individual. Then the next goal is actually to become part of a tribe and a community after that. That's the next process. But the individuation process itself is a part of you when you start to realize all these painful truths about yourself. And then you have to start swallowing all the bitter truths and being like, oh, that's me. Just for example, one of my clients just recently is having this sort of death thing because he's figuring out what he truly wants in life. And it's not being a real estate agent. And he's been in this position where he's got the shiny watch and he's got the sparkling rings and he drives the Audi, you know what I mean? And he's like, oh, look at me. I've got the money. I've got these things like this guy. And at the moment he's just like, now it just makes me feel sick just thinking about it. He's sold his car. He's got rid of things. Like, I don't need any of this material stuff. Like, he's got a bit of generational wealth as well. So like, he's fine. He's like, I don't need any of this. I just want to do what's like really me. I feel so inauthentic right now. And he's showing up completely different, like at work and in his job. And he's analyzing all of these things and what everyone's doing. And he's like, oh my God, this is all sort of wrong. And what's happening here? And he's becoming aware of everything and really clear on people. And there's certain people that he used to trust that he's like, I'm not sure if I actually trust this person as much as what I used to, because they're doing all these incongruent actions that I'm now aware of. Whoa. But now he's in a good position because he sort of had like for a couple of weeks, he was like looking at everything from this like ego death perspective, because he was changing. And then he's back in point like, oh no, I can be here. Like, this is fine. I'm slowly changing and figuring out exactly what I want to do. And I'm just going to be me here, regardless of what anyone thinks. And everyone's like, wow, why are you so like, he's getting all these comments just like, why are you so like this and why that? And he's like, look, I'm just being me. I'm doing my stuff and figuring it all out. So it's crazy to watch and see people go through those things. But you know, that happens, you know, the bitter truths and the painful truths about yourself, when you start to figure them out about who you are, what your behaviors are, what your thoughts do, if they're controlling you and if they're not, I think is really important. Because that's another thing that I talk about with that in terms of dark side, is your thoughts don't control you. And you have to be aware of what thoughts do and what thoughts don't, which ones are conscious and which ones are unconscious. Because sometimes, and to do that, there's 3 things to be aware of. So if anyone listening, like thinking caps on right now, so if you're interested in this and improving on the individuation process, 3 things to be aware of, and that is your desires, your urges, and your impulses, and your fantasies. 4 desires, urges, impulses, and fantasies. Because a lot of the time you'll be thinking about an urge that you have. It could be like, oh my God, I'm so horny right now. Or, oh my goodness, I just need to spend this money, or whatever this thing is. I need to do this thing with my life, or talk to this person, or whatever it is. And when you think about it, you're like, I actually don't want that at all. It's just an urge that come up. Or you start having this daydreaming fantasy about you in the future, or you with a certain partner, or you with someone else doing something sneaky. Like, ooh, what's that fantasy that you're actually having? And then people go, oh, I feel so guilty for having that fantasy. It's like, that fantasy is completely fine. It's not you. It's just the inside of your brain coming up. And if you can be aware of those and not let them actually control you in your decisions and your reflections on someone else, and accepting that that's just a part of being human, we have something like, I know Paul Chek talks about a lot, whatever millions of thoughts that we have a day, or hundreds of thousands of thoughts, whatever it is. We have like so many thoughts every day. So obviously none of them are going to be where they are. Sam Harris talks about this. If I ask you a question, you know, who are 3 famous, you know, movie actors that you can think of right now? Go.
Will Smith.
Yeah.
Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
And
one more.
Lady Gaga. She
where did that come from?
in my head something.
Yeah, right. It didn't come out of nowhere. Like, where'd that come from? How did you land on those 3 people?
Just popped up.
Yeah, exactly. So all of our thoughts that we have, in terms of all of our thoughts, there's only 10% of them that are probably like, that's worth listening to. How crazy is that? You had no idea where that come from. That's the same thing. Any urge, impulse, desire, fantasy you have, forgive yourself for any of the bad ones, because they're probably not legit. It's the ones that you think of, it could be like a good business idea or a good thing to mention to someone else, or this real thought that's like, you know what, this is really practical. I'm not doing what I need to be doing right now. I should be doing this instead. I need to be eliminating rather than adding things in, which is very common. That could be an example that you could use in terms of being aware of those things.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I can relate to that when it comes to meditation. Like, so many people give up meditation because they're like, I can't control my thoughts. They go on 100 million miles an hour, but that's the point of it. You just let them come in one side and come out the other side. It's just being self-aware and just looking at all those thoughts.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I sort of like, because I don't meditate too much anymore. But in terms of, I'll use it when I need to use it. But what I did over a period of time, because I sort of use all the techniques every day, was I went out and learned just as many meditation techniques as I could. I did all of Sam Harris's Waking Up app course, and I can't wait to dive in because there's probably so much in there that I haven't learned yet. Just went onto YouTube and learned heaps of meditation course, and went to a Bali to meditate, a few retreats. Went to a few retreats to learn different types of meditation techniques and meditation books and other different things, just to learn the techniques. And then once you've got them and you can understand them and you're aware of all the things, it's like you're just using them every day. Once they're integrated, it makes you so powerful. So powerful.
And the way I look at it as well is essentially it's just being present. It doesn't have to be sitting there and being a yogi and going, like it doesn't have to be like that. It could be you at the gym, like you're just fully in the zone and present. That's a form of meditation.
I love it. And one thing you have to be real careful of is people who do go down the spiritual path, but then their ego comes up as well. And then they turn into like those, I want to say those that don't want to discriminate, but sort of like a spiritual hippie who is in the position where they're so far down that realm that they can't get back out. In terms of if you see someone who you've known for ages, the next minute they're wearing huge Buddha beads and like a robe, and you'd be like, that isn't you. Like you can have the meditation techniques, you can learn all the stuff, but is that really you who you want to be? And they might go, damn it, I was learning all this stuff and now I'm wearing this thing. I didn't even mean to. You got me. Like that's very common for that to happen as well.
Yeah, it's just about taking the elements that work for you and that you want to incorporate into your life, but not turning into that.
Yeah, 100%. And just being completely aware of it. Yeah, for sure. It takes a lot of reflecting. It's a lot of time being in your own head sometimes.
Exactly. And on reflecting and on the ego deaths and accepting your bitter truths, do you have any tips or exercises that someone could do to acknowledge what their bitter truths may be and how they can overcome them and accept them?
Oh, straight up. Go ask someone. What's 5 things you don't like about me? Ooh, isn't that so scary to do? You know what I mean? What are 5 things that you think that, in terms of my characteristics that you don't like, but you also forgive? Something like that, like a big question. Someone immediately who's close to you or not that close to you. How much do you trust me? Where are my weaknesses? Where are my bad points? Then ask afterwards, what are my good points too? Because they'd like to give them to you. Then I'm like, I just want to be heaps mean to you. In terms of your own development, you have to learn those bitter truths and you have to swallow them. And I think what is one of the most important things that you can ever do is asking for help and relationships. So on the call today, we're talking about, connection is the new currency, especially in like our day and age at the moment. And you can just go up to someone, and if you've got good emotional control, just be ready. So be like, well, I'm going to hear it right now, but what are some things I can improve on? What are truths about myself that I find difficult to swallow that you think, and where am I lacking? Where could I be better? And you're going to get immediate feedback. And no matter who it is, no matter what they say, because some of the stuff you'll be like, that's not me. No way, that's not me. But if they're saying it to you, it is. And there's like something there. They may not articulate it correctly because you know you better than anyone else. But whatever they're saying is getting to somewhere where there's like a part of you that you either need to accept and be like, you know what? Sometimes I am like that, straight up. Like, I don't care. Like, I am like that straight up, and I ain't going to change it, but I can figure out ways that I can, say for things. For example, if, whatever it is, it could be something that you say on a regular basis that people kind of find a little bit offensive. Before you say it, be like, sorry, guys, this might be a little bit offensive, but like, me, here it is. Don't take it personally. You know what I mean? That way people are aware and they go, oh, I know why he's saying this because that's how he is, or that's how she is. And I accept them now because that's who they are. And you can explain why. So yeah, that is probably the best and number one thing that I encourage anyone to do. It's really worked for me. I actually thought about it not too long ago. I was like, what separates, me from other people? Not in terms of anything that is better. It's just what makes me an individual. And one of the things about myself as a characteristic I do really like is I ask for feedback all the time from everyone. I don't care how vulnerable it is. What do you think about this? Was this a good job? Honestly, what could be better? What could be done here? Blah, 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 blah. What do you think about this thing about me? I ask that question so much to even people that haven't really even known me that much. And where do you think I'm holding myself back? All of these questions all the time. You get that mirror response. You can't lose if you've got that. You're just getting a consistent. That's why I do believe, actually having a partner and being really dedicated in a relationship, having a partner is so important, and understanding all the things that improve a relationship in terms of semen retention, communication, all those other things as well, and how to actually do that and hold that container, because that's an immediate mirror. Every time that there's a trigger in a relationship and you're upset and frustrated, or they are upset and frustrated, your partner is, then there's somewhere in a room in there that you can take responsibility for. If you're aware of all these things and how to do this, number one is to ask figure out where the triggers are, number 2, and then take responsibility for all of it, regardless. It's a mindset thing to have, because if you're not taking responsibility for 100% you, no matter how bad something is or how much it's, in quotation marks, not your fault, then you've got an expectation that sort of needs to be learned or needs to be removed. And it doesn't have to be as in take responsibility, like, take responsibility. It's all my fault. You know what I mean? It's just taking responsibility as well, unbiasedly on the situation environment. I am here in this position. Everything in my life has led up to here, this point. There is something I can do about it, either now or next time, regardless. And forgiving yourself of anything bad that's has happened to move forward. I went on a bit of a ramble then.
No, I love it, bro.
I truly believe that is like, I work with some really high performing people, and that is some advice that I'd give to them. And I believe that is some of the best advice that I could give someone.
Yeah, I love it. I'm definitely going to do it. And for the listeners, make sure you have someone that's going to tell you what you need to hear, not just what you want to hear as well. Like so many people have friends that will just tell them all the good shit and not tell them the truth. And when they are telling you the truth, if it is triggering you, there's an element of truth to it. Hey, legends, just wanted to take a break to talk about today's sponsor of the podcast, which is Savvy Beverages. Now, Savvy is a 100% all-natural brain boost nootropic drink designed to improve your mind, reduce stress, and lift your mental fog without all the BS. With over 15 active ingredients, including L-theanine, green bean coffee extract, and even creatine monohydrate. Essentially, it's like taking a handful of multivitamins, amino acid, super greens, all that stuff, all in one. The bonus is 0 sugar and only 6 calories. My favorite flavor is the summer fruits flavor, and honestly, I drink it basically every single podcast. It just keeps me focused, keeps me in the zone, and plus, it tastes great. Like, I was skeptical when I first got it, but this is a one energy drink that I actually drink. And they also have a lemon lime flavor as well as their mental performance coffee. Now, don't trust my word for it. Go give it a go for yourself. Honestly, if you do not like it, there's a full money back guarantee. Head over to www.savvybeverage.com.au. Use the discount code BETTER25, that is BETAR25, to receive 25% off. You mentioned relationships and picking the right partner and putting yourself out there and the energy vibrations. And then you also mentioned semen retention, which we'll jump into as well, because I'm really interested in that. But how do you go about picking the right partner, knowing who you kind of need in your life as a partner?
Oh yeah. So that comes with self-awareness and trial and error for sure. And definitely like so much self-reflection and understanding that any relationship that, okay, this is, I'm trying to think of like some of the most value that I could drop right now. And this is pretty wild. And this is, I'm speaking to specifically men, because what I am seeing in my line of work is just so many guys just have their absolute hearts broken. We are the love bugs. Majority of the time, men are the lovers, want to provide, they want romance, and they want a girl that absolutely loves them and that they can just be received. Like, please just receive me, is happening. But the way things sort of are at the moment is just with how things are set up. I'm not whinging about society or anything. I think it's so necessary and everything's awesome. But women at the age of how we're maturing, like in schools and things, they're a lot better at following rules. They're a lot better at, this is majority speaking. This is not for everyone and everyone's different. There's different individuals and outliers everywhere. This is just majority speaking. You can get this out of the book Boy Crisis if you want to read into it a little bit more. And the book, that is one of the most powerful books I've ever read, Boy Crisis by John Gray and Warren Farrell. And you can also get into Enlightened Sex, Finding Freedom and Fulfillment Through Sexual Union by David Dida. There's one book, they're both called the same thing. One's literally about sex techniques and one's literally about different polarities and sexual energies. And essentially what happens is women just, and Jordan Peterson talks about a lot as well, women are really competent at going through school, following the rules, doing the things. But men have this predisposition to break rules. That's what we do. Like, it's sort of, we're in the culture to go out, take risks and go kill the bear and do all the things. And essentially, because we are the romantic ones and, you know, we do break the rules and stuff, is we're sort of in a position right now where it used to be in the 1940s, obviously not now, 1940s, 1950s, guys go out and provide, come home for the women. It's not like that at all. And I think it's the best thing ever, because we're in this position right now where it's just so high performing women. Like, my partner is one of them. She's so high performing. She's a high quality entrepreneur who's absolutely kicking ass. She knows her purpose, and I'm so proud of her. However, be in a position as a guy when you may not be the sole provider, as all these new skills that we haven't learned because a lot of our dads wanted to be in those positions. So we find it quite competitive when your partner is like actually succeeding, which makes your value drop down. Where's my own self-worth? Because I need to be the most successful. I need to be out crushing these things. I need to be the provider. Self-worth goes down. If your self-worth goes down, the attraction that she has to you is you've got depolarized sexual energy in terms of masculine and feminine energy. She's going to go, ew, goodbye. See you later. And she won't know though. She'll just be like, why am I not attracted to him anymore? It's not because of you not providing. It's not because of anything else, just because your self-worth is so low. So where can we find value? And that is, for all men who are listening right now, one thing that you can get, which is so powerful that no one can take away from you, no friend, no women, no nothing, is emotional control. And being like finding strength through vulnerability, bro. Wild. Literally, I sort of went through and figured these things out because I went through some crazy relationships. I literally, my first relationship when I was like 20, 21 years old, I got cheated on, and I'm not even kidding, like 10 times. And I kept going back to the same girl, like, because I thought she was the only other thing that I could get, or whatever it was. It was, I think about myself then, like, yuck, like, God damn. But I was learning. And then it sort of happened again and again. I was like, what is going on here with this, like this self-worth image thing? Like, why is this happening? Like, I see myself as such a high performer. When I started stepping into myself, I'm like, what is going on here? And from the age of 21, 29 now, from the age of 20, 21, I've had one of the best physiques that are out. Like, obviously I've got a pro level physique. I'm being quite humble when I say that. It was just like the reality of it, quite muscular physique that I had, which anyone would be like, oh, you could sort of get any girl that you like. And at the stage it was like, well, you could, but you couldn't keep them, right? Which is super powerful. So what I learned in the processes of all those things was understanding that any sort of emotional break or diving into vulnerability in terms of that, and being able to process and feel emotions as much as I could, as intense as I could, and understanding that creating is how you process emotions, can allow you to process a breakup. No guy should ever be fearful of having a breakup. And we do find that it's like so fearful of that actually happening. But if you understand, because obviously girls can feel through their emotions a lot better than we can. They have, they're more intuitive with their emotions, and they can get through things a lot easier. So how do they get through things so quickly? It's because they're open for vulnerability. But for us, in our point of view, we actually have to get creative with it. So for example, I knew it was coming from one of my relationships. I'm like, I got to process this. And I've coached so many guys through it now, and it's been amazing to watch. But whatever your creative expression is, and mine was at the time creating videos and making things amazing, because all the podcasts that I do and the course content that I was creating, went through a breakup, and I was like, oh God, I have to get through this and I have to feel it. I spent 2 days crying in front of a laptop, creating a video for her just to basically say goodbye. It was sort of like for myself. I was like, well, I know this is going to happen. So I spent 2 days completely crying, going through, sending all the stuff, went through, sent it all to her, and allowed myself to feel and grieve, not just her, but all the future timelines that we would have had together, and appreciated all the moments. Who cares who she's going to get with or whatever it is? Who cares what she's going to do after? There's no competition there. Like, blocked off everything for a period of time because it's like, well, I need to heal and go through these things. There's no competition there. I'm just focusing on me and getting through these things. Felt all the emotions, went through the things, and I just got through it, man. So much more quickly than any of the other ones. It was like a couple of weeks, and I was like, I feel fantastic. And I'm happy doing what I'm doing, like more than any of the other stuff. Like, I don't need another partner, don't need any of this stuff. Like, I've got time. This is great. And it was just amazing seeing it. Now we're helping other people go through it on a semi-regular basis when it comes in, is helping people, process those things, because it's hard to hurt sometimes. And if you can allow yourself to feel and go through those things and actually get through that, oh my goodness, the strength of, power and vulnerability in that is amazing. And when you have that confidence and you know that you can get through those breaks, is it sort of puts a more value and worth back into you, because at any period of time, if you're in a relationship and it's sort of not working or not having, you can be like, hey, is this like working or not? What do we need to have or change? Because if this continues over a period of time, I'm out, and I can deal with that. And that's completely fine, which gives you this confidence that's like, oh, awesome. I'm not like super attached. I love what I do. I love my life. I love everything else about it. If we're not working out, that's fine. We don't have to argue. We don't have to go through this crazy break thing. It's just like, this sucks. And then you can cry together, go through things together. It's completely fine. It may not be forever with your partner, but if it's now, you can enjoy it as much as you can. And when you understand those things as a guy and you have that confidence, you're not going to choose someone who's second best. You're not going to choose someone who's like, this is a girl that I'll settle down with. Put you in the position where it's like, well, if I'm not scared of things breaking, I'm going to get into a relationship with someone, see how it goes. And what I'm going to do, which I want all men to sort of think about, is commit 100%. Because commitment, I believe, is a skill. It's not a thing that you just fall into when you get married and you're like, finally commit now. No, as guys, we're always going to suffer from temptations. We're always going to look at the next beautiful girl. We're always going to look at something else. It's just part of human nature and who we are. Sorry, ladies, if you're listening, we literally can't help it. It's healthy for us to happen. But if we're 100% committed, there's no way nothing is ever going to happen ever. And if you practice 100% commitment and you get confident at being 100% committed, then it's going to show. And then when you go through in a relationship and you 100% commit, you're going to get to the point, if it's not going to work out in that relationship, you're going to get there so much more quickly than what you would in another relationship if you're just dancing on the edge, going through all the bullshit. 100% commit, you get in there, and then you might go, this actually isn't working for us. Damn, that sucks. This was fun, but I'm going to choose someone who's more accustomed to me. And then to figure that out, I also encourage guys to write down a whiteboard, a big old whiteboard, get a big piece of paper and put down all the things that you'd like to have in a relationship and a partner in terms of what you want from sex, what you want it to look like, what you want a personality to be like, what you want the relationships in her life to be like, what her desires, her purpose, all of those things are. And then also write down a list next to that in terms of what are all the things that you'd like to not like about her. She likes country music. Damn, you know what I mean? For me, I say this in a lot of podcasts as well, and it talks about it, is I don't care if she's a real bad relationship with her dad or has a bad relationship with masculine energy. I've worked on mine enough as it is that I can hold space for her. So that's one thing that's like, cool. That's going to be a big lesson for me because there's going to be a lot of triggers. There's going to be a lot of things popping up. There's going to be a lot of things that she's unsure of and not feeling safe, whatever it is. But I'm like, it's okay. I've got it. I've got you and I've got us. I've got all the room in the world for that. So I hope that helps.
Definitely does. I wish I had listened to this when I was going through previous relationships, especially the whole whiteboard thing, like writing it down what you want and knowing your self-worth and what you need. It's so important. And in a way, you're manifesting what you want into your life. But at the same time, you got to live up to that expectation to attract that. You got to lift your vibration because you're not going to attract that into your life if you're at a low vibration.
Do you know what I think manifesting is at the moment?
What?
We just sort of had like a click because it's like everyone's like, you can manifest. I'm like, why is it actually happening? For example, if you write down the list of someone, what you want in someone, and then you start talking to them, Instagram, Hinge, Tinder, whatever it is, you can start asking people like, okay, what's your relationship like with your parents? What's your personality traits? You're not asking about little things. You're asking about big things, you know what I mean? Which has got to bring you guys closer. It's more intimate communication. But just writing those things down, I believe manifestation is this, because you've now seen it and written it down, your brain's just going to look for it. So now you're just looking for the opportunities that you'd like because you've put it down. And then we think it's manifesting, but it's like, no, literally your brain is actually, you see a white Hyundai and then you notice one of your friends buys one, then you see them everywhere. It's because they're there. So if you write down, for example, opportunities, partners, dream jobs, career, dream relationships, people you want to meet, if you want to start something or do whatever it is, and you notice it, you start seeing it everywhere, obviously you're going to start moving towards it. And then if you don't, write it down again. And then if you can't, whatever it is, get someone to hold you accountable to keep looking at it and moving forward with it. Pay someone to do it. Ask a friend to help you. Then that starts moving forward. And then you start, what are these good things happening to me right now? It's because you committed to something, God damn it, and you figured it out. It's pretty crazy, to see.
It is, man. And yeah, as I said, it all comes back to self-awareness. You have to know what you want. If not, because if you're looking for a relationship, those people may always been there. But if you don't know what you're looking for, you may not be looking at them. You'll be looking straight past them.
Yep. Straight up, man. I couldn't agree more.
Now, we mentioned semen retention, no FAP, is it no porn, correct?
I haven't masturbated in like 2 years.
Why not? Why not?
Well, I've talked to quite a few people on this because a lot of people talk about practicing pleasure and doing things. And yeah, I've basically watched no porn since at all. I've intentionally sort of been like, had desires and urges, but I was aware of those things. And I thought it was an ego thing. And I was like, I actually want to check to see what my relationship is with this. And it's like watching the most boring news that I've ever watched in my entire life once you've removed it from it. Now, for my perception as to why, I just wanted the motivation to find like my dream partner, to be completely honest. That was the main motivation. If I'm like, well, if I'm giving my sexual energy out, I need to be put in a position where I'm frustrated enough to do something about it. Now, what men don't understand is, it's really funny, right? The way polarities work. So unconscious men, if we act on primitive and desires and urges, we're quite primitive about things. Fuck everything, fuck everyone. Let's have sex everywhere. And if you think about the complete opposite of that, it's only having sex with someone who's extremely important for you for the sake of making a baby. What happens if you do that? You get all of the energy in the world. Your brain just frees up. You get so motivated and focused. You have to channel all of that energy. And if you haven't got anywhere positive to put it into, it's going to show up negatively. So you're going to be put in a position where you're going to be frustrated. You're going to have all this energy, which I think is, men are actually scared of their full potential, scared of awareness, and scared of getting into a relationship that they actually like. So one of the ways of releasing it is they'll go masturbate and get that over and done with, and it lowers their masculine energy. And then what happens is they will attract a partner who is at a lesser version of themselves, or your current partner will adjust herself. There's a real good quote out of there's a Carl Jung or Joseph Campbell, somewhere Hero's Journey. It's like, for lesser men, she adjusts herself to keep up with them. For lesser men, she adjusts her own energy for them. So if you're getting rid of your own energy, then it's never going to happen. Now, what I can tell from personal experience is it is wild. There is like a 2 to 3, there's like every single month, it's like a different hurdle in the step. And the first 2 months is just like dealing with your control of lust and figuring it out. Then it gets to a sort of point where any sort of feminine energy you could not appreciate anymore in your entire life. Any girl on the street smiles and you're like, that is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. Now, this happens to you. Now, because you haven't ejaculated in so long, for you, that when you do, if it is through sex, that it's going to be so much more intimate. And you're going to be in a position where it's like, I don't want to let this go with just anyone, because this is, holy shit, I might actually catch a feeling here, because this is going to be really intense, like really intense. This isn't going to just be like, oh, whoa, like how we usually have with the connection with sex. Like, this is actually going to be really passionate and intimate and scary for men to lean into that vulnerability, right? And so you don't just want to do it with anyone. You need to know the person. You actually need to date them. You need to take them out and sort of, get to know them before you share the experience with, which happened in my case with someone I was so sexually attracted to that I had one of the best experiences of my life in terms of like anything. You get thrills jumping out of planes, you get thrills on roller coasters, traveling, whatever it was. It was just like one sexual encounter. I was like, this is heaven, like on earth. This whole thing has literally just been magical since we started chatting on the phone till now. It's been magical the whole time. And I think as men, we sort of sacrifice that for a quick release. John Gray talks about it in a lot of his studies. Just as a quick thing, if you're ejaculating every single day, your testosterone like drops by something along the lines of 50%. If you ejaculate once a week, it increases by almost double, something like that, because you're saving throughout the period of time. And there's a lot of cultures where men ejaculate only a few times during winter and way more frequently during summer, because vitamin D increases testosterone as well, which is quite fascinating. Does that mean not have sex? No. What the practice is to get really good at sex, because we have this power, man. Men are so powerful. We've got the energy. We've got the and it's scary. We're supposed to go out there and, we can run marathons. We can build crazy things. Our minds, look at the Western world, and that has just been built by men and women just using their brains and doing all these crazy things, bro. It's fantastic, all this stuff. We're so powerful. And when we channel that energy properly, we can use it for something that's way better and bigger than ourselves. And if we don't know what it is, it's sort of bringing it back down. So one of the things that you can do is have all the sex, but don't ejaculate every single time, which is hard. Have I failed? Oh yeah, I try to stick to one a week. Does it happen every week? No. God damn it. This is a new skill. You're putting yourself in a position, and people ask the question, but Corey, man, I'm going to last 2 seconds. And it's like, good. Now you're in a position where you have to figure out how to get good at that. And if you haven't been good at that before, now you're going to have to. What is that? You know what I mean? And you want to keep using that and improving, because there's things that you can use and there's stuff that you can do around those types of things to figure that out and actually get really good at it. And a lot of it comes down to, for guys, it's not having sex too late at nighttime. It's try to get it done in the morning. That's when it is, or midday. Save it for the weekend so you actually have the willpower to hold on. So that's like a little a technique there. But practicing that as well also takes the sex, because men don't understand. A lot of women think, is this good for him? Is this like, is he enjoying himself? Is this beneficial? I hope he's enjoying himself. I'm doing everything that I can for him. This is a gift for him, right? And if you don't ejaculate, what does that mean? It means it's for her. So now she has to take she has a whole different approach to sex, right? Well, why are we even fucking? You know what I mean? What's the point? You know, you're not getting anything out of it. You're like, no, I'm getting the most out of this, and I'm savoring it, and I'm, waiting for my time to, take the kill. I like to use men words, come in there, take the kill. But yeah, from her perspective, she has to have a whole different relationship with it, because it's not about you as the guy anymore. It's about her. And then all men can say that they get the most enjoyment out of sex when the girl has the most enjoyment out of it. Now that's actually going to happen. You're in a position to figure that out every single day and every single time that you do have sex with your partner or someone else, which is crazy. And I think so inspiring, and such a modern leader's sort of tactic, even though we don't talk about sex enough. I think it's very important for us to do those things, because when you're in those positions, you're connecting harder, you're feeling better, you're helping your partner, you're improving your home relationship just through that. Then you're going to show up better in your business. You're going to show up better in the gym. You're going to be thinking of all these different things and like actually being proud of yourself. Like, oh my God, I did that. Which you do every time. I don't know one guy that hasn't held back, for example, and succeeded and has not been proud of himself for doing so, and having a much longer sexual encounter, and having, the partner having some like mind-blowing moments out of the sexual encounters. So I hope that was useful. Went on a ramble.
It was. I think it's so important that us men speak about this, and not in terms of, I nailed this bird on the weekend. It's like, I did semen retention. I had the best love making with my partner, like that kind of stuff. So important.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's where we used to get validation through approval, right? It's a primitive thing to do, but it's just a part of boyhood to manhood, as you're mentioning beforehand, is how many girls can I have sex with and how much validation can I get from the guys? But that's just instant gratification. It's the same as getting a like on a story post. The same as getting in comments and things. Nothing. It's not mature. It's not a hero's journey way of going through things. Necessary, I think, at a young age for some guys to sort of go through. But when you're bringing that into a later age of things, and we need to educate, like I'm going to educate my kids on this. I try to educate as many young kids as I can, and get a lot of, people in their later teens and really early 20s coming and talking about this and going through all this stuff. Be like, why the hell did I know about this when I was younger? And I was like, why didn't I know about it when I was younger, man? Which is crazy to have, because then it takes the validation out of things to be like, man, you have a deep connection and you can balance your personal and professional life, and you're fit and healthy, and you're working toward your goals, and you're finding fulfillment and purpose, and you're contributing back to society before you die and feeling proud of that. I acknowledge that for sure.
So Corey, how do you not ejaculate then?
What, when you're having sex?
Yeah.
Oh man. So my technique, everyone's got their own techniques, and I've researched a lot into it. There's different ways of doing it. Apparently it's the main way is being able to relax into it as much as possible. But for me, I like to spend so much time playing foreplay, just kissing and touching, to the point where you've been raging for ages till it sort of just goes numb. And if you're having sex later at nighttime, I said it's harder to hold your willpower back. But when you're having sex earlier during the day, you have a lot more willpower. One thing that I say is, when it starts getting intense, have the willpower just to back off, slow down, take it out, do something else, come back. Sex does not have to be just a bang, 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 bang the whole damn time, even keeping a rhythm. It's like, no, this is a practice, and I want to get good at this. So you practice and you practice, stop, go, stop, go. I use condoms regularly too. Every time it gets too sensitive, cool, I want to put a condom on for a little while, use that, and then take it off again when I can. So I'm constantly doing things to sort of figure out how we can actually go through and do it. And I'm not kidding, like on a regular basis, there's no pumping up on my brakes. There's nothing. From the time that we're having me and my partner have sexual encounters, a lot of them from the time of just touching and kissing for those things, a lot of times it's like an hour and a half worth of sexual encounters. And every time that we're getting better at it, I'm lasting longer and we're having more fun. Not for the sake of actually lasting longer. We're just having a really big intimate experience. And we've sort of, it's at a position where it's like, I want this to be really good, climax at the same time, all of those different things. I care more about that than the actual length. I know a lot of guys hold length as like a validation through length of time. But I'm impressed with myself with the progress that's happening because I've dedicated so much time into this. And I try my hardest to only ejaculate once a week, but sometimes I give myself a 24-hour period to ejaculate as many times as I can. and then I try not to for the rest of the week. But if the urge comes through, it's like, cool, we're having a sexual encounter. I'll try my best not to. And I'm probably like 80% spot on. And then there's 20% where it's just too good because you're getting way too into it. Oh, but next time, because I save it for another moment, another period of time, because I want it to be, about her more than about myself, so that she can also learn to, because it's a new skill for her as well, or for your partner. If you're a girl and you're doing it with a guy, whatever it is, it's like back and forth. It's just a new skill to be learned. So that's like some practical tools that you can use, and just putting yourself in that position and being 100% committed to, even if I'm not lasting that long, even if whatever it is, I'm dedicated. And you know what it comes down to? That's also relationship communication. If she understands that, all good. And if she understands it's about her and you're like, nah, I'm just not doing it, then it's like, well, you don't have to have actual intercourse to please. It's like, well, let's do these other things. Let's touch you for ages. Let's go through whatever it is to help her go through. Like, this experience is about you, not about me. And then the next time, for some people, maybe just go get it done out of the way, wait 20, 30 minutes and then come back and then go again, whatever it is. So I don't do that. I try to drag it out as long as possible, but that's just some techniques that anyone can try. But the importance is communicating and talking about it. And you never feel guilty. I never feel guilty. If I ever have an episode where it's like, well, I didn't last as long today, like, I never feel guilty for that. We just get into, I'm like, there's so much of the value that I can provide here and now. So I do it.
Dude, I appreciate that. Like, you're the first guy I've been able to speak to about this stuff, like being open and honest. So, man, that's awesome. And it's, as I said, it's good to see males actually speaking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I never panic as well. If it happens, like, I get into it. I'm like, ooh, here we go. I'm coming now. And then like grab on, hold board, let's go nuts and enjoy every single second of it for myself. And like, oh, that was amazing. You know what I mean? Because we know that the next time that we do it, it could be the longest, best like experience ever. And understand that sometimes building yourself up for that is really good as well. So there's, complete forgiveness. I don't panic. And if I say anything, whatever it is, it's like, well, I came a bit earlier than what I thought I wanted to. It's your turn now. Let's go. You know what I mean? And try my best with everything as much as possible in terms of fulfilling that.
Awesome. I want to ask you, so when you got all that energy built up, you're raging, you want a quick release, you want to let go of it, how do you kind of transfer that energy elsewhere?
Okay, so this is really hard. So you gotta fight that. That's willpower 101. That is, and practicing your willpower, which I think is really important. That willpower is going to show up better in business, better for stuff you want to do, because that's the hardest thing. I'll respect that in any guy. Right at the point before you're right about to go and right about to ejaculate, and you can just go, no. Holy shit. That means you have got some sort of control, man. Like, that is, I respect that more than anything. That is the most willpower out of any man in terms of temptation. Like, that guy wouldn't give in to any temptations, because if he can do that, holy shit. But the thing is understand that it goes away. It literally just, it goes away. It's like the most intense experience. You stop, it's all hectic. And for like 10 minutes afterwards, you're on a high, a legitimate high, and enjoy that high. Use it to say some things, get vulnerable, do whatever it is. Think about something, write some notes down in your phone, get clear, because it's pretty crazy. But it literally, within 5 minutes, it just goes away. And you just feel really good. You're like, oh, thank God, like 5-10 minutes. I thought that was never going to end. I thought I was going to be stuck here forever. Jesus. But then what happens, which is really good, within like another hour or another 2 or in the morning, you're like, I want to have sex again. And then the next night, you're like, I want to have sex again. And then the day after that, I want to have sex again, to the point where you're having sex all of the time and you want to as a guy, which is a very healthy sign that you're in a good position. And you can provide that to your partner as much as she is into it and she likes it, or vice versa, whatever way. And understanding like, that's really important and really healthy. And you have, as a guy, like, oh my goodness, for so many guys, if you struggle to commit to your partner and you do this, you'll never struggle to commit anymore, because your sexual attraction to her, if you can do that and stop doing that, just goes through the roof. She's everything that you're ever going to need. Every time when you are at that point where you are so horny and lustful and ready to go, and I'm like, girls, you may not understand this unless, I don't know, unless you've taken testosterone before, but for guys, it gets so overwhelming that every time she moves or take a step or says anything feminine that's sort of sexually attractive, for you, you just soak it in and breathe it in. It feels so good. You're like, oh, just be around me all the time. I'm so attracted to you. And it's such a good feeling as well to, as a guy, if you've ever been in the period where you haven't been attracted to your partner because you had an argument you can't forgive, she's upset at you or something. If you're not ejaculating, you don't give a fuck about any of that. You don't care about it, but you're like, oh, we're in an argument right now, but it's going down tonight. Like you just have this sort of, supreme confidence. That's like, yeah, we'll get through this. I'm here for you. I'm gonna listen to you. Come on, tell me. Let me go through this. I just want you to hug it out and like feel better. And she feels better. And then you sort of step into the point where you're like, cool, what can I do? You're buying flowers, you're taking out on dates, you're doing the things that whatever love languages she needs to fill herself up full of oxytocin so that she can feel sexually attractive herself and get into her own sexual energy is, you're going to do all of those things that you need to get there because you're like, I want this like so bad. So you just do it. You put yourself in the perfect position to move forward as a guy. So.
Dude, we could do a whole podcast just on sex and relationships, honestly. But as we start to wrap up, because I respect your time, I wanted to quickly touch on your relationship with your father. Now, you did a post the other day talking about breaking free from the high expectations you have from your father. Now, am I correct that you never had a strong relationship with him, but now you do?
So we did have a pretty strong relationship. He just wasn't around as much as a kid. Okay. Essentially, because I thought this was so crazy for anyone who has bad relationship with their dad. So grew up, he wasn't around that much because he's just working hard. He'd leave at 6 a.m, back at 7:30 at nighttime. You know what I mean? So we didn't see him. We were in bed all those times. So we didn't see him that much. Although he did love and care for us and he was doing all of those things for us as a kid, but we don't understand that. We're just like, where the hell's dad? For all those different things. And then through my parents split up at the age of 15, moved out with dad, used to getting everything that I want with mum for whatever it is. And then moving out to a home where it was like, you do everything, I'm going out. And if sometimes I didn't have the dishes cleaned and I'd be like halfway, I'd be half an hour away. Get home now, or like I'm taking your car away. Like you get home like right fucking now. And we'd get into like we almost want to like beat each other up. It got real toxic sometimes in terms of just like, you have those fantasies. I had fantasies about my dad, like I just want to cave his fucking head in. I know he was just like super angry at me sometimes just because we didn't know how to communicate around things, because he wanted me to take over the business. He wanted me to do all those things, but it just wasn't suited to my personality type. I grew up to be a singer, a dancer, and an actor. And I'd be training my whole life to do those things. I went from that to a sweaty sheet metal shed, working with guys there was bullying going on. Dad didn't know how to hire people. He didn't have any business skills back then. So he'd hire the wrong people who were bullying and they were bad and all these different things. And the workplace culture fucking sucked. And it was just toxic masculinity. And I went from hanging around beautiful people every single day with these crazy opportunities and expressing myself creatively through video, camera, and voice and movement to that. So it was quite a big shock, and there was a lot of resentment there for him, and it got quite toxic. Other times we'd have so much fun, but it was like, it'd go from a ratio of 60% fun to 40% arguing to 10% fun to 80, 90% arguing and, being really off at each other because he just wanted me to do really well, but he didn't know how to communicate it. For him, it was just like, fucking work hard. That's what he was like. You need to work hard every single day. I remember when I got another job after him and I was like working in a surf store selling clothes, and he goes up to the manager and I was like sweeping and he's like coming in there telling me how to sweep. And I was like, oh my God, Dad, I'm like, serious? And he said to the manager, he just said something. He was like, make sure you work him fucking hard. Like that to the manager. I was like, oh my God, shut up, Dad. That's so embarrassing. And because that's what worked for him though. You know what I mean? He worked hard, got him success, broke out of any of the financial struggles that his family had, but it capped his success. And now I coach Dad like every day with business and other things. It's crazy. And relationships. He rings me up. He's like, all right, somebody's got a relationship. What do I do? I explain the whole thing. And he's like, wow. And then he messages me the next day and be like, oh my God, but it worked. But essentially me just following my own journey, understanding my own purpose, saying no to those, breaking that tie with my dad, understanding where my ego was at and being like, no, fuck this. I can do these things. and I can give him love and be nice to him and understand things with him and help him and support him, essentially in quotations, become my dad's dad and treat him like a son and give him the love that he needed so that he can then give me the love that I actually needed. So just so much healing going on. And now we're best friends. So best friends. Relationship is so beautiful. Like kisses me. My dad kisses me all the time. He comes and stays in Gold Coast. Where there's so much healthy father-son love in our relationship. It gets me a little bit emotional sometimes talking about it because I like him so much because we're just so close now. And it's like the best thing ever. And he's just like, a lot of guys seek finding pride from their dads. Like their dad's feeling that they're proud. And it's just like every single day, it's just like, I'm proud of you. And I'm like, and I'm proud of you because, he's been tuning in and he listens to some of the Overcome the Chaos calls and things that we have. And his mind is blown by the level of conversation that all of us guys are having and the things that we're all working through and, the wins that they're getting and the things that we're going over and transforming people's lives. And he's listening to it he's like, I just never had any of this and I wish I did. And I'm like, well, better late than never, right? And it's just so beautiful to watch. So thanks for asking that question.
Now, the reason I ask is because I can relate so much. I'm in a predicament where I'm trying to build my relationship with my father because he wants me to take over the business as well. And it's building a lot of tension because this is what I want to do right here. It's podcasting, all the stuff that I do. But he wants something else for me because, as you would know, they think they know what's best for you. But it's understanding and coming from a place of empathy that they're only doing what they know or what they think is best.
They're trying to keep you safe is what they're doing. But they don't understand that a child they come in, you have no control over them and they go. And it's and you learn this for all the myth. You can't hold on to them or expect or anything. You can set things up for them. You know what I mean? If they want to or not, they won't, but they just come in and they go. And for anyone who's listening in terms of like being a parent, this is talked about a lot in the myth. Obviously I don't have kids, but I can talk about this and analyze this a lot. And I talked a lot about this with my own dad is essentially they are your greatest teachers. Your kids are there to teach you. You're not there to teach your kids at all. They're going to surpass you real quick. They're going to learn all the stuff that you've learned and more at a much younger age than you and make a better decision in terms of, I actually don't want to do that job. This would be way better. You actually didn't want to do this when you were like way younger or something, but now you're really good at it and you love it. I'm not going to do that. I've got freedom. I've got privilege. So I think it's just a powerful lesson to learn.
Dude, I love that you mentioned that kids teach you because I just became a father myself. My daughter's 6 months old and already like they teach you so much. They bring out your flaws. They bring out areas in your life that you really need to work on. And it's been an amazing journey thus far.
Amazing, man. Proud of you.
Man, we have a new closing tradition on this podcast where the previous guest asked this guest now a question. Now, the question is, what has been your most vulnerable moment?
Probably going through the breakup and intentionally going through there and just putting everything out on the table, creating that video and doing it intentionally to get over it and succeeding. Like so vulnerable, felt every single emotion to go through it and move forward is definitely it, because that's like 100% leaning into it, which has given me the skill because I succeeded with it, that there's no fear for that anymore, for sure.
Awesome. Corey, thank you so much for your time. You've provided so much fucking value today, man. I've loved today.
Thanks for having me on, man. And if people are interested in where they can find me, it's just on Instagram, Corey Boutwell, which I'm sure you'll put in there. And then my website, CoreyBoutwell.com. Everything's on there under Corey Boutwell. The program is called Overcome the Chaos if anyone is actually interested in that. But we just go everything's under my name for now. So
too easy. For all the listeners, if you got some value out of today, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Check everything that Corey's doing. And please remember to take a screenshot of you listening to this podcast, tag myself and Corey on your Instagram stories. Yeah, we'd love to see you guys listening, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.